same organisation personally indoctrinated your president into it. I think they might have had some influence, folks. 7,000 people, and they're on the verge of socialising between 1/6 and 1/4 of your economy and wrecking the world's greatest healthcare system that you have to live with or die with. You can still stop this, folks, and you've got to. Now, the other big communist program that's going on right now, and it's bubbling away, we haven't got it yet, and hopefully we never will, that's what they call comprehensive immigration reform, otherwise known as amnesty. Now, I'll tell you what, folks, you've got Republicans telling you this is going to be good for the GOP. People like John Boehner and Eric Cantor and John McCain and Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio, all your favourites. Because they tell you that if you give 12, 20, 30 million illegals, who knows how many, if you give them citizenship and voting rights, they're all going to be so grateful, they're all going to start ticking those little Republican, they're all going to start ticking the hours, right? Become good little GOPers. That's just delusional. Absolutely delusional. The illegals, particularly the Latino element of it, vote overwhelmingly Democratic. Overwhelmingly. Now you look at the black population in this country. They've been voting Democrat 90% for more than 60 years. No matter what the Democrats do to degrade and enslave their communities, they still keep ticking those Ds. 80% of the Jewish population has been voting Democrat for over 100 years. No matter what Obama does to Israel, they still keep ticking those Ds. People do not change quickly, folks. And the Latinos, who are very socially conservative, a lot of them, maybe in 20 or 30 or 40 years, they might sort of start veering Republican, but there won't be a Republican Party then, folks. We've got 2.5 years. 2.5 years to save this country, maximum. And I'll tell you why in a minute. It ain't going to happen in 2.5 years, folks. Now, why are these Republicans telling you this arrant garbage? Could it be connected in any way to the fact that the US Chamber of Commerce has spent more than $1.7 billion promoting amnesty in the last 10 years? What do you think the Chamber wants out of it, folks? Cheap labour to pluck their chickens and man their hotels. That's what they want, and that's far more important than your border security or your national integrity or the laws of your land, right? Agree with them? No. Damn right you shouldn't. And is it any coincidence that the Republicans who are promoting this stuff are the ones that are most closely connected to the Chamber of Commerce and big agribusiness? Or am I being a little bit over-conspiratorial? But the real driver of this is the left, the hard left. This started out in California in the 1950s with a Communist Party member named Bert Corona. He was also a Democrat. He set up the Viva Kennedy Clubs, the first organised effort to bring Latinos into the Democratic Party. But on party instructions, he also set up a whole network of support groups for illegal immigrants across the southern California border and the southwest, mainly on union and government and church money. The purpose of these groups was to encourage illegals across the border, get them work in the factories and farms, get them green cards, get their kids into schools, get them citizenship and voting. The voting was the goal. Now, Corona trained hundreds of disciples to carry on his work, and 3 of them are very prominent today out in California. They all work very closely together, and they've transformed that state. One of them is Antonio Villagrosa, until recently the mayor of Los Angeles, a hardcore Marxist. He turned Los Angeles into a sanctuary city, forbade the LAPD from enforcing immigration laws, and the illegals flooded in their hundreds of thousands. His friend Gil Cedillo, another hardcore Marxist, was until recently the head of the California State Senate. Big-time immigration activist. He is the one who got the DREAM Act pushed through in California, gave all sorts of so-called rights to the children of undocumented workers. Third member of this group, Maria Elena Durazzo. Thank you. Another Marxist. She is the most powerful woman in that state, one of the most powerful women in America. She is the head of the California AFL-CIO. She is the one behind the massive union-driven and paid-for Latino voter registration drives and get-out-the-vote efforts that over the last 15 years have added hundreds of thousands of new Latino voters to the California rolls. Almost all Democrats. That has changed the entire voting patterns of that state. Deliberate program, people. California, once a reddish, purplish state, is now solidly blue. Even Orange County, the most conservative county in the entire United States, is now purple. All as a result of the work of Durazzo, Cedillo, Villagerosa, Corona, and their friends. Deliberate program. Go out to Arizona. A man died there in 2012, very successful politician, but you never heard of him. A man called Lorenzo Torres, the head of the Communist Party USA's Latino Commission. His job was just like Bert Corona's, to set up immigrants' rights support networks from Texas to Nevada, New Mexico to Colorado, right across the Southwest. He also was organising any opposition to any attempt to clamp down on illegal immigration. He led the big charge against SB 1070 in Arizona a couple of years ago, a battle he thankfully lost owing to people like you. He also set up the movements in Tucson and Phoenix that gave the Arizona congressional delegation 3 Communist Party supporters. 3 Communist Party supporters in your congregation, in your Congress, out of one of the reddest states in the Union. Raul Grijalva, Ed Pastor, and the freshman Kirsten Sinema. All done by Mr. Lorenzo Torres. Profile them all in my book. But the man leading the charge today, right now, you would have seen him on TV, purple shirt, leading an immigration rally, I guarantee it. A man called Alistair Medina. He was until recently the Executive Vice President of the SEIU union, largest union in your country, private sector, and the one with the biggest Latino membership. He is the man behind the bill that went through the Senate last year, the immigration bill, and he's been using his union comrades over the last several months to pressure your Republican congressmen to flip their vote on immigration and pass the bill through the House. He's working on this full time. He's a member of Democratic Socialists of America, a Marxist. He's a supporter of the Communist Party USA and a former member of Obama's Latino Advisory Committee. Obama consulted Medina personally before embarking on this latest immigration push. Medina also works very closely with Raul Grijalva on immigration issues, and very closely with Luis Gutierrez, the rep from Illinois, who is driving this in the House. Gutierrez is a former member of the Marxist-Leninist pro-Cuban Puerto Rican Socialist Party. Now, just to prove a little issue, if there's any union members in here, this may resonate with you. Which organisation in this country 20 years ago was leading the charge against illegal immigration? Unions, AFL-CIO. They were always lobbying Congress to increase penalties for any employer caught employing illegal immigrants. Why? Because they saw illegal immigrants were unfair competition for union members and would drive wages and conditions down, cost jobs. Very logical. So in 2014, which organisation is leading the charge to legalise illegal immigrants? The unions, the AFL-CIO and SEIU. So why was it bad for union workers 20 years ago and good for union workers today? The fact is it isn't. Before 1995, the unions were there to represent the interests of their members. After 1995, when Democratic Socialists of America took over the AFL-CIO, they were there to promote socialist revolution. Illegal immigrants are real bad for union workers, folks, but they are great for revolution. The unions are selling out their own members right now, taking their money and selling them down the river because a revolution is more important than the rights of their members. And it ain't easy to get union members to flip their vote. It took Aliseo Medina, a Marxist, 5 years of lobbying inside that organisation till he got them to change from anti-illegal immigrant to pro-illegal immigrant at their big national convention in Louisiana in 2000. The Marxists did it, folks. Now why does he want it? Why is he working on this full time? Well, he let the cat out of the bag at a progressive conference in Washington, D.C. 3 years ago. Got him on DVD, got him on tape, quote him in my book. Got him in front of the conference and said, the number one priority of the progressive movement is an immigration bill. We have to give citizenship and voting rights to our 11 million undocumented workers. 11, 12, 20, 30, who knows? And did he talk about compassion or reuniting families or the American way or giving immigrants a break? Not a bloody word, folks. All he said was this. In 2008, Latinos voted overwhelmingly for Obama and progressive candidates. If we stand by these people and get their citizenship and voting rights, they will stand by our movement. That will give us at least 8 million more Democratic Party votes. That will give us a governing majority, not just for the next few election cycles, but for the foreseeable future. In other words, forever. 8 million more Democratic Party votes, people. Texas would immediately go blue. The Southwest would go blue. But just take the Electoral College votes from Texas alone, your second most populous state. Add them to the Electoral College votes from California, your most populous state, which they've already got through immigration. Add the totals together, it is mathematically impossible for the Republicans to ever elect another president. Can't be done. One-party state, folks. And if you think the Democrats are arrogant now, what would they be like with 8 million more votes in their pockets and the Republicans permanently out of office? This won't be like France or Germany, folks. This will be like Venezuela very quickly and Cuba not long after, because that is the plan. And you have Republicans telling you this is good for the GOP. They know the figures, folks. They're not stupid. They are not only betraying their own party, and I do not use that word lightly, they're not only betraying their own party, they are betraying their country. And you have the power to get rid of them just like you did Dick Lugar, and you've got to do it, folks. You've got to do it.
Hunkered in the sand, middle of nowhere. The war was raging and he didn't think he'd be spared. He told his buddy, guess this is the end. His buddy looked at him, said, don't say